I love the idea of creating a persona. And this persona was informed by like being introduced to Yasuke, the first Mozambican slave that rose the ranks to become a samurai in the 14th century. Being inspired by like stories like that of understanding that the African identity is really something that has gone through all these crazy crests and troughs, but through like resilience, tenacity, perseverance, you can really create who you want to be in this life.
Samurai Farai, born Farai Engelbrecht, is a South African visual artist, curator, and mental health advocate whose raw cubist-inspired works interrogate identity, emotion, and human condition. Farai has developed a bold visual language that bridges fine art and street culture. With the discipline of a high-performance athlete, pushing the boundaries of mind, body, and soul, Farai continues to challenge norms, elevate African narratives, and shape the future of contemporary art.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
My bro.
Yes, sir.
The legendary
Yeah.
Samurai Farai. Thank you, bro. I was telling you outside, like when I started the idea of the Inside Show, the first 10 names I wrote down on a piece of paper, your name was one of them. And I always envisioned your art in the space that I was going to record the pod. So I even came to you before that and I was like, listen, I'm doing this thing. And it's a beautiful moment to have you here in the space, bro. So thank you. Thank you for making time, bro. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I love this. I love that we've made the time to align.
Yeah,
man.
It's a special thing, bro. Where I'd love to start and where I usually start the podcast, bro, is if you're out at a dinner party and someone who doesn't recognize you asks you what you do professionally, how do you best articulate that answer?
I like to always like have, the standard elevator pitch in my pocket.
Yes.
To be completely transparent, it will vary depending from person to person.
Yes.
Depending on like what I can do for them. But off the top of my head, it would be, hi, I'm Samurai Farai. As a profession, I'm an independent visual artist, cultural entrepreneur, and creative.
I love that, bro. It's powerful.
Yeah, that's it.
Short and sweet. I love it. So many people come through and they're like, they struggle to put that together. I think it's important to have that precise.
Definitely.
Just if you don't know, who's going to know,
Bro, 100%.
100%. Tell me if we are watching the movie on Netflix one day or the documentary on Samurai Farai. How would you envision the beginning of that story? How do you envision the beginning of your story?
That's such a great question. I think it would definitely have to be like me sitting in front of the TV after primary school, SABC2, 5 o'clock hits, Dragon Ball Z comes on.
Dragon.
You know what I mean?
Dragon.
There we go. There's Goku on the Nimbus cloud doing his thing, It would have to be that, man. It's so like serendipitous that like you're asking that question and that is Dragon Ball Z. Last night I had the privilege of having dinner with one of my oldest friends, Rizwan. And the funny thing is me and him have been friends since we were 5. And our connection was drawing Dragon Ball Z together ever since we were kids, man. And he still draws, I draw, and yeah, man, you fast forward into time and yes, we've gone through these different paths and now it's a profession. But for me, the story or the love for expressing myself visually was inspired by like superheroes, man, like this aspirational character that I would watch on TV like Monday to Thursday. And being like, oh, I can draw this guy. I can actually draw him like better than that guy can or that guy can.
Yeah.
And then being like obsessed, like I want to keep drawing this is better and better and refine it. I don't know why. I'm not selling it. not for clout. It's not cool. It's just something I enjoy doing, man. And that was like the seed.
Who was the character you liked to draw the most?
But it had to be Goku.
Ah, my man. I was chatting to Terrence about this. I was like, Terrence Maleke, and I was like, depending on who you drew the most on from Dragon Ball Z, would say a lot about your character.
Definitely, definitely.
That's incredible.
Yeah, man.
It's such a crazy story as well. I found out that the lady who organized, I mean, I have to try and get on the show as well, but the buyer who basically brought Dragon Ball Z to South Africa, she was doing a deal for a different show. And
Crazy.
part of that deal, she said, listen, I'll take the show you want me to take, which was some crazy, like, it was one of these like reality TV shows that she took. And part of that deal, she said she'll take it if she can get 2 animations, and they threw them in for free. And those 2 animations were Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, bro.
Bro, that is
and it made such an impact and such a crazy, like I think of it like my brother got into shape because he would literally start training because he saw Goku training, you know. So it's like, crazy the impact that it makes. I also used to draw the characters, and I think like what a big impact it made on all of us, you know.
Definitely, bro. I mean, where would we be? Like, where would like our generation of South African artists or like cultural people be without DBZ? You know what I mean? And there's an artist I follow as well who is like talking about it on Instagram, like how a lot of pop culture now with like people our age is directly inspired by Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z, you know, like that's our pop art kind of era or segment of influence.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting to think like where we would have gotten that energy from if it wasn't for that lady.
It's crazy, right?
Like,
for that lady.
Yeah.
It's mad. I think about that so much, bro. Tell me, do you have like, what's your earliest memory of drawing? Like, do you have one like where you go like, that's the earliest memory you remember drawing something?
Yo. So it's so funny, man. It had to have been like the standard red and black HB pencil.
Yes.
Sharpener, you know, the one that you used to bolt to the table.
Yeah.
My mom had one of those at work.
Crazy.
And it had to like, yeah, man, it was that. It was like Goku's face, more specifically eyes. Always eyes. I remember being obsessed with drawing eyes first. And funny enough, even in my work now, I always start with eyes.
Crazy.
Bro. I never like go nose. It's eyes. So I remember like the lined margin paper.
Yes.
You know, for that we used to get in like school.
Yeah.
Cause other than that, then it would have been like ages 4, 5, and 3, which are just a bit blurry. But yeah, man, my earliest memory is drawing Goku.
That's crazy,
yeah.
Bro. That's insane. And no one else in the family that drew or anything like that?
My uncle was an artist.
Okay.
One of my dad's brothers. So I had the privilege of like going in between spaces, like between my mom's place, my dad's place, and my dad's home always felt like a cultural haven in a way. You know, my father was married to an actress who was on Generations at the time. There were always like South African musicians like Bongo Muffin at our place, actors, actresses. Art was always there. My uncle was always painting. Once I like came of age, he like showed me how to use charcoal and oil pastels, but it was normal to me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a special thing. You know, I have like vivid memories of us putting my uncle's canvases on the roof of the car with like rope and like driving it to I think like somewhere in the Johannesburg CBD for like a show.
Crazy.
You know, and that I couldn't have been older than 7 years old, and that was just normal. Like, Cosmos has got a show, we're going.
Oh, incredible, bro.
It's just that's what we're doing on our Sunday evening or Saturday evening.
That's crazy. And did you ever have like a moment? When was that moment where you're like, I'm going to be doing this? This is what I'm going to pursue. Because I can imagine you're drawing throughout high school as well.
Yeah.
Did you have art as a subject or
Definitely,
design or what?
Yeah, art.
Okay.
Visual art.
Which I'm sure you excelled at, right?
I did, man. Funny enough, I excelled more and was more passionate about the art history.
Oh, wow.
The academic side of it was what actually attracted me more than the practical. I wasn't like the most talented at like drawing an apple or drawing like a portrait. My work has always been like super expressionistic. You know, like I don't really care for realism.
Yeah.
Whereas like in high school, like if you can do realism, you're like the GOAT, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like,
guys, take a picture, my man.
Yeah,
Please,
you know
man.
what I mean? So I was like,
Yeah.
bruh, you know what? I'm more fascinated in how we've documented our visual history as a civilization after civilization after civilization. And I think that I can actually learn more from that than trying to, you know, paint shit that like looks like it's real. So I just became obsessed with art history, and yeah, man, I was like getting the best marks. I loved writing essays about art history and artists and their influences and their characteristics, and you know, that was my obsession, not the drawing or painting side of things.
That's so interesting, bro.
Yeah.
That's
So I didn't know what to do with that, if you know what I mean. Like as a keen fetish, like where does this take me in life?
Yeah.
You know, so for a lot of the time, I think I was just floating around trying to figure out where I would land, if that makes sense. Still staying optimistic and like following things that like made me feel good about myself, but still like really not knowing where this is going. Even when I got to art school, bro, like I won't lie to you, I didn't feel reassured, you know. And what I mean by that is like I didn't see people who I felt like I could relate to. You know, like, okay, I'm supposed to be at the best art school on the continent, but I don't think that Tom, Dick, or Jabulani over here really want to do what I'd want to do with this thing. You know, everyone is like following rules and wanting to like get 85% for that. And for me, I was always like, this art thing is supposed to create discomfort. It's not supposed to be something that is always like beautiful and palatable, right? Yeah. It's supposed to be something that actually asks questions. It's critical. It interrogates. It doesn't it's not a passive discourse. And I got there and I saw all these people just like licking ass, to like, for better, like lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And yeah, man,
And that's something you knew. You wanted just to go to art school. You wanted to study. Like that was the goal throughout high school? Or?
No. So I applied for psychology first. Wits, denied. Architecture, Wits, denied. Law, Wits, denied.
Bro, that's crazy.
And the way I got into UCT is actually like, bro, it's divine destiny. It's like the day that I'm writing my last exam, which is art, I'm sitting in the labs at Cares with my friend, I'll never forget him, Matthew Matayson. We're like revising, blah, 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 artist characteristics, born, whatever. I see he's on like this website for this art school. I'm like, bro, what's that? He's like, nah, gee, this is UCT's art school called Michaela's. I'm thinking about applying there, but it's not even on my map, you know. I go to this like all boys sports focused jock school. The guys that are into cultural activities, we don't really take them seriously. For me, it was like, do something serious, do law, do art. I don't know, you know, art wasn't a thing. Long story short, I call my mom just before I go into the exam. I'm like, yo, moms, check out this art school. find out what they need. Can I apply? Do the exam, boom, 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 come out the exam. She calls me, she's like, dude, we're 2 days late for the application, but I think that you have everything that they need, like still lifes, landscape studies, blah, 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 self-motivated work, maybe like 12, 15 artworks for the portfolio. Cool, mom, let's go do it today. Go to the nearest postnet, somewhere in Orange Grove at the time. The lady who works at this postnet, my mom didn't know, I was best friends with her daughter. And my mom was like, hey, can you please get this portfolio to Cape Town as soon as possible? It's for my son. He's applying to UCT. She peeps the stuff and the name. She's like, no ways. This kid is, I know him. He was at my house for Christmas a year ago. What? Our parents have never met. They're meeting over that period. She's like, I'll get it there today. It gets there. A week later from that phone call, UCT called back to say full bursary. Come.
You're kidding, bro. That's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
What a special story, man.
Yeah. It was like I couldn't have scripted it. And if it didn't happen like that, I honestly don't know where I'd be in my life.
Yeah, forget DBZ, bro.
No. That one, that was a scary, yeah.
Jeez, that is crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Talk about divine timing. Just talk about, like, it's insane, bro. It's like, had you not been present in that moment of your friend opening up and looking at something and calling your mom's, like...
Bro, so many dominoes, like so many
Wow.
falling pieces, and I feel like my entire like journey has just constantly been that.
Incredible, bro.
Yeah.
Incredible. I relate, bro. Tell me, okay, so you're studying, you said you didn't really relate to all the people in varsity. I'm sure there was a lot you learned, a lot you didn't sort of conform to. Like, how was that process? How long was it? Three years?
It's 4 years,
4
so you
years.
end up finishing with your honors degree.
Okay.
And man, it's hard. It's like, you know, for instance, I'd never written an essay on a computer before, bro, in high school. Like, I hand wrote my first essay for submission. And my lecturer was like, what the hell is this? You know, like you're supposed to have like spacing, like 0.5 spacing. And I'm like, what is, I don't know this.
Oh,
so
man.
like, not even just like a cultural adaptation or like adaptation that had to happen, but just like an infrastructure, like adaptation that had to happen. So catching up to speed was so intimidating. Being around people who like didn't come from situations that I did, and like also being like pretty much like a jock athlete kind of guy. Yes, I'm super sensitive and stuff, but like I've gone to an all boys school my entire life, 12 years, start art school. There's 6 dudes and 75 women in my class. Complete like cultural shift. Which I'm like grateful for.
Yes.
But in terms of like the infrastructure of like what they teach you and what they want you to learn, it's all like, it's pretty useless in the sense of you walk out of that 4-year degree not knowing how to do an invoice. You walk out of that degree not knowing how to pay your taxes. Yeah. You don't know how to price your artwork.
Which is crazy.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
some of those things you should have got in freaking high school already.
No,
like,
completely, bro. Like, you don't know how to fill out a SARS form, and these are all like hyper practical tools that you need to function in society.
Yes.
Like, if the first thing you need to understand, which they should have told you at art school, is like, hi guys, yes, you are creative, but you are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, like, you are here to sell something. So what does that mean? To sell something, you need to know how to market. You need to know how to brand. You need to know how to price. You need to know how to like choose an audience. You need to know how to cater for it. But these were all things that were rushing through my brain at like 19, 20. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? You know what I mean? So they teach us how to draw in charcoal, paint naked people, do printmaking, copper etch, build a camera out of a light box with light sensitive photography paper, and spend time in red rooms. And that's all cool, man. But like, how do you monetize that? How do I pay my rent from that?
Spot on, bro.
Like,
Spot on.
and if you can't meet me there, then you're wasting my time.
When does Samurai Farai happen? Is this in varsity? Is that something
Yes.
you adopt in high school? Okay, in varsity.
So Samurai Farai happens as a response to all this tension that I'm kind of being able to like see in art school. And it's also become, it's like it's an informed response, you know, being introduced to critical thinking, which I'm really grateful for, that university allows us an education. So I'm being introduced to like amazing like discourse, like Dadaism. A French author called Guy Debord wrote a wonderful book called The Spectacle of Society. So we're being introduced to things that are asking us to ask questions, you know, but everyone is taking it lightly. I'm taking it like super seriously. So Samurai Farai becomes a pseudonym, or not an artist moniker that I'm then allowed, or I allow myself to create quite freely in, you know. Government name Farai Engelbrecht. I've had to explain that ever since I can remember. And I got to a point where I didn't want my creativity to need that explanation of identity. I just wanted you to see something and be like, I don't know who this person is, doesn't matter, but the work matters. So Samurai Farai was born out of the need to create work that wasn't political, that wasn't grounded in race, that wasn't grounded in gender, that wasn't grounded in class, but could speak on all of that freely, right? And I think I was also inspired by the musicians that I loved, like Tyler the Creator, King Cruel, all these people who like bro, musicians don't use their real names a lot of the time. And I was always like, I love that. I love the idea of creating a persona, you know. That's what I want to do. I'm going to create a persona. So I did. And this persona was informed by like being introduced to Yasuke, the first Mozambican slave that rose the ranks to become a samurai in the 14th century. Being inspired by like stories like that, of understanding that the African identity is really something that has gone through all these crazy crests and troughs, but through like resilience, tenacity, perseverance, you can really create who you want to be in this life.
That's crazy. And I'm sure you relate to that by being at UCT, and you feel like that same samurai coming through, working through the ranks.
Literally.
That's beautiful, bro.
And things were also like, it was roads must fall, fees must fall. So that was my first year of uni, and everything was just intense, you know. Everything was tense and heightened, and emotions, and
yes,
you know, everything was political.
Yes.
You weren't allowed to exist without being political. Yeah. And I got like wrapped up in that for a while, until I was like, actually, like, I want to speak on broader topics. And started doing graffiti, defacing the campus, defacing.
Crazy.
But I was like doing like, you know, Basquiat Samo inspired text, like graffiti, kind of questioning and criticizing the art school, comparing it to religion, comparing it to like currency and money, and like asking questions of democracy. Got caught And
Oh, for real?
yeah, bro. So,
Like, man, we know we know your style, bro. No one else can do
no,
this.
literally, bro. I got called into the HOD's office. I'm sitting there with 4 of my lecturers.
Yes.
They've printed out pictures of all the graffiti and pictures of my prac work in
No,
comparison.
don't lie, bro.
Bruh, it's like I'm caught red-handed. I'm like, they're
Oh,
like,
man.
you either explaining yourself
Yeah.
or we have to expel you. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, damn, we don't want the latter. And I pretty much went very quickly into explaining to them that Samurai Farai was the start of like a self-motivated body of work where I create this artist moniker that interrogates what the art industry is, what the gallery system is, what even the role of the artist is in society, redefines it, reconstructs it, performs it, unperforms it, and just kind of functions as this like amoeba, you know, and they loved it. They were like, yes, do that, but don't paint the walls of like a 150-year-old building. Let's kind of get you to channel that work into stuff that we can exhibit and show, which I agreed with. And yeah, man, I got a lot of great support from great lecturers, the likes of Stephen Ings. I had a studio next to Penny Siopis. She would constantly come and check in on me, and yeah,
That's incredible, bro. Shout out to them, man. They could have taken that a different way, and you could have taken that a different way. And bro, shout out to you for being on your toes like that to come, because that time, bro, to come to give them that answer is powerful, bro.
Yeah.
That's like, but it's the truth, you know. It's not like you out there trying to come up with an excuse. It's like, this is what I'm doing. This is the truth, and for the truth to resonate and set you free like that, bro, that's special, bro.
Thank you.
That's really, really special, man.
But
And that's been you till today. Like
literally,
that's where Samurai Fry,
yeah,
he gets away with it, and now it's here. You know?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
crazy.
still getting away with
Still
it.
getting away with it.
And they're paying me.
And they're paying you now. Oh man, that's brilliant. So you graduate.
Yes.
What comes after that, bro? I'm sure there's some sort of feeling of, you know, the things we touched upon, like you don't have this structure that you've been taught. You don't have this like, okay, when you leave, this is how you start making money. This is how you price an artwork. This is how you almost have this anxiety of, where does one even start? Like, what's your angle? How do you tackle it as soon as you leave?
Such a great question, bro. Thank you. So I must note that, like, you know, at the end of our 4 years at Michaela's, you have to have a graduation show, right?
Yes.
Where you pretty much put together a body of work. It's self-motivated. Yes, like the lecturers have checked in on you and the direction a bit, but it's pretty much where you get to stretch your legs and see and test the waters. This grad show is quite well known across the continent. So you get people from all around the world: France, Russia, America, Asia, Africa, come to Cape Town, the UCT's grad show, to kind of see the next generation of talent. I was the only artist in my year to sell out the grad show, right? Incredible. So, for lack of a better word, I make 100 grand in 5 hours. It's the most amount of money I've ever seen in my life. At the time, I've brought in like 4 of my friends who helped me like hang the work up, sell the work with me whilst I'm there, because I can't, as one man, I can't talk to 4 people at one time. Yeah. So everybody gets the brief. And I had my mentor in the space at the time who worked in retail at quite a like high level for TFG. So like an executive trend forecaster and buyer, but when it comes to like sales psychology, like that was my guru. So having somebody in that space led to that success, right? So we sell out the show, make like 120K. I spend the next 2 months delivering artwork. And then I think only like once we've delivered everything do I get to sit back and be like, whoa, like we just did that. Never sold an artwork for more than 1,000 Rand in my whole life. Never known what it meant to have a team work with me towards a goal. Never understood anything about sales psychology, fear of loss. If you don't buy now, the price goes up tomorrow type beat. And just like outsourcing, bro. Long story short, make that money and pretty much spend the next like 3 years stuck in Cape Town. And why I say stuck, well, not 3, 2, 1.5 years. I say stuck because I kept my job in hospitality. I stayed comfortable. I was still working 40-hour weeks, serving people like alcohol and food and using that to pay my bills. That's what I did through uni. I didn't really like take any massive risks with the art. You know, group show here, group show there. But like, I was young. I'm in Cape Town. We vibey. I'm with the cool kids. Let's party, you know, and let's party and stay comfortable. And then what happened was it just like got super unhealthy for me. And I decided that I wanted to leave the country, did so, and applied to work on the cruise ships as an art auctioneer. That's when things really like pieced themselves together for me, because it meant spending 8 months learning about Zig Ziglar, sales psychology, closing deals, essentially learning how to sell a product.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And having a mentor in Miami who helped me do that, doing exams, going eventually to Miami, then Detroit, Michigan for a month, and then essentially embarking on this like cruise experience where we would facilitate 3 to 5 auctions a week, curate over 700 artworks a day, have crazy like sales goals of like 120,000 USD per week, hit those goals some weeks, hit those goals, double it some weeks. So I got thrown into like the deep end of the art capitalistic side, which I actually needed.
Wow, bro, I didn't know this about you, man.
Yeah, bro,
crazy,
it was the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Minimum like 14-hour days, no weekends, just back to back.
And where does the cruise go? Like, where is it?
So our port was Tampa, Florida. So we'd leave from Tampa, head to like Mexico, Cozumel, Belize, Costa Rica, head up to the Caribbean, and then come back. So 7-day cruise. 3 out of those 7 days, you have to curate an auction, which means you have to transport over 600 works from like the belly of the ship to the gallery, set up at 4:30 a.m. and then host the auction and then disembark the work and pack away. It was...
And you're wearing many hats. Are you the guy hanging up artworks?
Every hat, bro.
Really?
Every hat.
Wow.
Like, there's like a team of 4 of us, and we are essentially managing, call it like 50 million USD of art. Like, it's bananas. And also getting to meet people who you wouldn't expect, quote unquote, are into art, you know? And that's where I really understood that your expectations of people who should like or shouldn't like art are completely subjective to you as an individual. Art is for everybody.
Yeah.
But you project this idea of who's supposed to like it, what that person's supposed to wear, how they're supposed to dress. And essentially, as an audience, as a people, we also feel a certain type of way in that space. Oh, I can't go to that exhibition because I don't dress like those people.
I'm not like
them.
Yeah.
Oh, those latitudes or R&B or Investec Art Fair. No, I don't do that. That's not my thing. Why is it not your thing? Because you've built up this idea that we also reinforce in society that like art is exclusive, right? And I was so grateful and blessed to like have that overwhelming experience to learn that, man, it's not exclusive. Like, stop bullshitting yourself. Stop bullshitting us. This is not an exclusive experience. Like, maybe it's exclusive in the sense of if you can't afford it, but yet just because you can't afford it doesn't mean you can't experience it. Nobody's charging you to go into a gallery, bro, firstly. You know how many people ask me on like Instagram, bro, how much are tickets to come to your show? I'm like, bro, it's free. Just, come. But it's like I said, it's that
Psychology,
yes, the psychology that we also like reinforce. And like that experience humbled me. And coming back from that, I looked at everybody that I interacted with as somebody who I wanted my art to engage with.
Incredible, bro.
You know
what a
what I mean?
special story, bro.
Thank you.
Wow, bro. Because it almost, you have that mind shift, right? Where you go, in fact, any place I don't feel comfortable being is exactly where I should be.
100%.
And that's exactly where I should go.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I should show my work.
Yeah.
If I don't think I belong there, that's exactly where I should be. And, and such a great lesson in there for people experiencing things in general. You're so spot on. Like most of these shows are for free, but you almost have this perception that you don't belong because you might not be able to afford the ticket. It's like, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Wow.
And I remember even like how many concerts I would go to with my homies when we couldn't afford a ticket.
Yeah.
We could have very well been like, no, we can't afford to go to that show. We were like, we're gonna find a way.
We're going.
We're going.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if we get to experience the show from outside. We're going. Like that's what's gonna happen. And bro, every time we got in, every time there's a way. And those things you had to buy tickets. That's such a special story, bro. So now, what comes after that, bro? Do you come back and now you've in a different gear? What was the first show you did then, or what happens next?
Bro, I come back. Firstly, it's coronavirus. It's the Rona now.
You get back here to lockdown.
Bro, not even. It hits me whilst I'm there. So my coronavirus story is that 26th of March, I'm on a boat in the Caribbean, locked up. We disembark our guests. Eventually, bro, long story short, it takes me 5 months to sail back. I come back to South Africa on a boat by water. Aquatic motions only.
Crazy.
Like across the equator on a boat, bro. It was... But what happened during that experience is me realizing that the subject matter that I wanted my work to essentially grow from was mental health, mental stability, psychological identity, psychological awareness, and I didn't know for a long time where or how I wanted my work to look and draw inspiration from. But what I saw during the virus was everybody just being chopped down at the knees, being mentally weak, mentally unstable, and the layers being peeled back. And us all actually connecting through this incredibly disheartening experience. Yes, we were so far from one another, sickness, but I think we all felt like, hey man, I can relate to every single person.
100%. The world was on the same chapter for once. We're all on the same, in the book, we're all on chapter 6. Everybody's there.
Yeah, everybody. And
Yeah.
it was, yes, it was horrible. People died, but the beauty for
Yeah.
me was, for the first time in my life, so clearly seeing what connected us and being able to identify it and being like, okay, that's what I'm gonna align with. And painting, I created a body of work whilst the journey from coming back from the Caribbean to Durban. And this body of work really like sparked the momentum of the person that you still see in front of you today.
Wow.
You know, so that was like my flower from the concrete.
Wow.
But I get back here, everything's closed down, shit's hit the fan, everyone's terrified, you can't do anything. The art world is not even an art world at this point. I'm like coming back from like working 15-hour days to there's nothing to do, stay at home. PTSD from this incredibly long like voyage at sea, depressed, sad, and I pretty much just fall into old habits, find a job in hospitality to like keep myself busy and do that for like a year. And then the shift when I decided like, yo man, cut the bullshit, just focus on this art thing, is when I collaborated with A-Reece.
Crazy. That was the moment.
Yeah. That was the moment where like I had this like wake up moment, because I just did all of that really cool stuff, journey through UCT, getting to UCT, but I kept like returning into safety. And I remember like being behind the bar one of these nights and making the decision to quit and being like, if I don't give myself the opportunity to see where this thing goes, one, I'll never know. And two, somebody else will be brave enough to take that leap.
Someone will know.
Somebody's going to find out. And I was like, do you want to be an observer? Do you want to watch somebody go after the dream that you're having right now? Nah.
Incredible.
I'm going to do it.
How does the A-Reece link happen? Does he just hit you up? It's just like a natural...
His photographer at the time was somebody I went to Kes with.
Okay.
And I mean, we had this conversation downstairs, but I've always been I'm a critical person, and I've always been super critical of like essay music, right? And I think I posted a bunch of like stories or something being like, why does every South African hip hop artist like use a portrait of their face as an album cover? Like, as a country, are we not more creative than that, you know? And this is the time where we've seen Kanye West work with Takashi Murakami, George Kondo, and we've seen those people do amazing things. And I'm like, guys, come on, you guys want to talk about I'm the best rapper in the world, but like, you've got a studio backlit album cover, white background, you in a hoodie and a beanie. Let's just calm down.
Yeah.
And Wanda showed Reece that, and Reece was like, I couldn't agree more. Ring him, call him, boom, boom. Next thing I know, I have the unreleased music. I'm working on something that can visually describe what I'm hearing. He just says, bro, free reign, do your thing. I trust you.
Crazy.
You know, always calls me young Basquiat. I'm like, bro, let's go. Thank you. And from that point, we release it. It opens me up to millions of kids who don't know that art and music are synonymous. You know, they don't even know that like art is like a thing like that, you know? So I become like an idol or an influence or a role model for like kids who like to draw Dragon Ball Z, you know? And I love that like Reece gave me that opportunity, because it showed, and it still is a symbol of what happens when we collaborate.
Exactly.
You know, when we work horizontally with one another in order to achieve verticality.
Yeah.
And such
also shout out to you for sparking that idea and speaking your mind and being like, why
Bruh.
are rappers not doing this? Because
Bruh.
also had that not happened, bro, you're probably not working. So just sharing your thoughts and your ideas sometimes sparks the gate to the collaboration.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Still to this day, I feel like, I mean, I speak to Didi a lot about it and some other friends of mine where I feel like we become so passive the older we get.
Yes.
You know, we become like, we don't want to have conflict with anybody.
Yeah.
Everything must just be calm and chilled.
Yes.
But that is bullshit.
Yes.
Like, especially if the work that we're creating is being put into like a global economy that is then being consumed by a global audience. If I'm not critical, who's going to be critical?
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more, bro.
You know what I mean? Like,
we have to be critical. I think there's a nice way of doing it. We don't need to be
100%,
assholes. We don't need to like
100%.
break people down. But
100%.
like, whether it's artists' music that I listen to or people who ask my opinion and stuff, we have to be critical, bro.
Yeah.
And we have to be honest, and we can do that in a nice way. And I think it's very important to the growth.
Yes.
And it's very important to your story of like connecting, because all of a sudden someone's opinion on something could spark your collaboration. Like, man, I like the way that person thinks. We could do something together.
You feel me? You feel
love
me?
that,
and
bro.
also the beauty in personality, the personality of person who can accept critique.
Yes.
Right? Because it means that I'm willing to be humble. I'm willing to sit in humility and grow my creativity. I'm willing to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Not, I know it all, I'm the best, who are you?
Yes.
You know, and I've realized like that passivity is so against what we need. We need, yes, to be stimulating each other, but we don't need to be like applauding mediocrity.
Yeah, 100%.
We need to be doing the opposite.
The opposite, exactly.
You know, like, hey, I love what you do. You're talented, but right now you're at a mediocre level.
Yes.
Are you willing to sit down with me and discuss how we can maybe amplify?
Yes.
You know, maybe it's a cash injection. Maybe it's a marketing budget. Maybe it's just a videographer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a podcast, you know, and it's stuff like that where I see the people who are going to like really propel like South Africa and the world culturally are the ones who are willing to constantly learn, bro. Like
100%.
And the ones who are like not willing to shut up and like embarrass themselves by speaking and having an opinion.
Yeah.
Like, man, have an opinion, bro. Like, be somebody. Like, oh, you don't like that painting? Cool, man. You don't have to like it. Tell me why.
Yes.
What do you like?
Yeah.
Cool. That's dope. Oh, I don't like that either. Cool. Connect. Don't connect. But like, be somebody. Like, have an opinion. Live in contrast. Like, don't just, go with the flow of every.
You can't.
Man.
It
drives me nuts.
That's how we breed mediocrity, bro. Like, I'm 100% with you, bro. A couple more questions before we wrap up. I wanted to ask you, who would you say is your earliest supporter?
My grandmother, bro.
Really?
Yeah, that's my OG.
Crazy.
But to this day, I was on the phone with her this morning. She's sending a basketball for the show that I forgot at home.
Crazy.
Postnet. She video called me with the Postnet people to say it's going, it's express, it's coming.
It's coming.
Nah, man.
Special.
Yeah, she really was like the anchor in my life. You know, my mom had me at a young age, was going through a lot, and I don't think could like balance everything. And my grandmother was just the anchor, bro.
Amazing.
Like, especially like in such a volatile space like Johannesburg, I watched that woman live fearlessly.
Wow.
You know, and not just fearlessly, but respectfully. And just like a woman that believed in like respect, humility, but also you will never push me over.
Yeah.
Like that woman takes no cuck
Yeah.
from anybody. And watching that as I grew up and having that inspiration and having that belief behind me made me like, gave me so much confidence.
Amazing.
You know, so yeah, that's my number one.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
That's so special, bro. Is there an artwork that like lives in your head rent free? Is there one piece that you've done, whether it was difficult or easy, or is there one when you think about your own work that like pops into your head?
Yo, that's such a good question, bro. That's such a brilliant. The thing is, I don't think that there's one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it rotates.
Yes.
You know, like the conveyor belt when you're like eating sushi. Like there's multiple works on the conveyor belt, and at any given moment in time, I'll like zone in on one. And that's kind of how I work. I think I remember telling you this, but like I work on multiple pieces at a time. And my brain is just like non-linear, so I can think about different works at a time and how they relate to each other. So the work that will live rent-free in my mind is the one that I haven't created yet. The one that I can see, but I haven't actualized.
Searching for the salmon roses.
You feel me? You feel me? So a lot of the time, the work that is there, that's like, in Afrikaans, like you'd say, in my gedagtes, is the one that I'm like hypothetically and mentally creating.
Okay.
Because it's always happening.
Wow.
You know, and I've realized like I'm such a visual consumer that everything that I see is contributing to the next piece, the next work, the next sculpture, the next this, the next experience. And that's been a brilliant thing to learn, but it's also like really difficult to switch off. You know, like almost impossible. And the way I switch it off is like by training, going on runs, fucking redlining my heart rate, lifting weights. Then I get to like calm it down. But otherwise, bro, I'm like visual.
Incredible. So that's the one you're resonating on all the time. You're thinking about the next work and how that sort of is the present to all the works that you've done. And that's the one you're thinking about most. I see that.
I don't think I let myself dwell on like, oh, 2022, that was cool. 2023, that was sick. A-Reece cover, that was dope. Like when that work is the one that is like on the conveyor belt that hasn't been created, I'm obsessed. Nothing else exists in my reality except bringing that thing into fruition. You know, once it's in fruition, my job is done. Thanks.
I got you. Do you know, like, you know, when the artist like hears a song and he's like, yo, I got a hit. Do you know when you look at a few where you're like, yo, this one is the one, I know? And does that, how does that relate to when people see it? Like, do you call it? Are you able to call it? Or does it like shock you sometimes where you're like, hey, I didn't think this one, but everyone who walks in is really resonating to this one?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
It's a bit of both. I think it's not as open-ended as music, right? Where right now there's a certain BPM or tempo or genre that's popping. The art thing, the art language is something that it's like, it's completely ethereal, bro. Like trends in fine art are like impossible to predict, one, impossible to like create like out of nothing. Like I can't just make futurism a trend through TikTok. You know, so the works that essentially need to hit, or that I know hit my audience and myself, are the works that I feel like have demanded the most courage and bravery from me.
Wow. Okay.
If that makes sense. Because that's the only level of indication of strength like XP points on the work that I have is this work demanded that much of me, and that's how much I had to put into it.
Wow.
I know that that's how much somebody will feel when they look at it.
What a great way to gauge that, bro. That's incredible. I love that answer.
And then there's also sometimes works where I feel like I didn't require as much bravery, but somebody is obsessed with.
Yes.
And that's like what I mean. It's like a yes and no. It's a give and take, where sometimes I lose sleep over a work and it comes out amazing. Sometimes I do a work in 3 minutes and somebody loses sleep over that work.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it's always a beautiful thing to know that those different people exist and to not be as hard on myself with my work. Like, sometimes the work is just supposed to be free-flowing, eloquent, elegant, not difficult. It's there. You do it because you love it. Then there's the work where it's fighting you, it's wrestling you, it's choking you, it's being unfair with you, and you have to essentially meet it at a place that it's asking you to come if you want to bring that work to life. It's crazy, bro. Like, that's why, like, people like Terrence, I love his work so much, bro, because I can see and I can feel
100%
where he has to go to bring that piece into life. And that's the only way I judge any other creative, bro.
Incredible, bro.
I'm like, how far did you go?
Wow, I love that answer so much, bro. That was so well put, bro. That's beautiful, man. You have a way with words too, bro, which is incredible, man. The way you curate your words is like how you create your art, man. It's like you do it seamlessly. It's like the way you choose to give us that melody is incredible.
Yeah, man.
That, bro. I love that, bro. Tell me, we manifesting now. What are some collabs that you think, whether it's an artist, whether it's a brand, that if the two of us were in the same room, it's over. You can give me one local, one international, however you see fit. Like, who's that one that like, put me in a room with this person or this brand, it's over?
Lacoste.
Wow.
Tag Heuer. So the reason I say those two is because Lacoste is one of my favorite brands. Yes. They just did their first runway show. I think it was in Paris or Milan, and just beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love what they're doing. I love their correlation between tennis, streetwear, etiquette, vibe,
elegance.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's clean, it's elegant, but now it's also functional, and it's relating to streetwear and street culture. The reason I don't say Rolex, because Rolex is unattainable to a lot of, about 90% of the population.
Yeah.
Something like Tag Heuer for me is on the ground. I know that if I tried really hard in the next hour, I could send a few emails, send a few DMs, and somebody will send me a phone number and an address. Yes. Right? Only thing is, I haven't cooked the designs yet, and I'm not ready just yet for what I want that thing to do.
Yeah.
But I know I want to be on people's wrists, bro. Like,
so fire, bro.
You know what I mean?
I see what
you know what I mean? And like, that means crossing into a new audience now, where like timepieces, it's a thing. It's a thing that it's almost like a coming of age thing. Watches mean so many different things to so many different people and culturally. But I love the idea of really deeply considering how fine art and time have this relationship, and also what we were talking about, like trends and not being able to bring something from the past and make it trendy. Like, you can't make Impressionism trendy again. you can only do what is in the present moment and make it appeal to people by making it authentic.
I love that.
Yeah. Something also like really authentic about a watch. It's like it's analog. Almost one of the last analog devices we have.
So true.
Like
yeah.
I'm wearing a Garmin right now because that's like, I'm a fucking sports nut. But the watch, man, the clock, the dial.
Something about it, right? Incredible, bro. I can see it. I can 100% see it. Tell me, Masks of Modernity. Now, we are, 2 days away from your show. This episode will air next week. So when people are watching this, the show has happened.
Yeah.
What are you feeling now? Like, what's the feeling before a show? Like, take me through that. You just landed in Cape Town. Like,
yeah. Man, it's pure excitement.
Wow.
It's pure joy. And like I was saying to you before we started, I'm just so excited for people to see my work.
Wow, that's so special, bro.
Like, I think a lot of people feel anxieties. Is this gonna sell? Is this gonna work? Or will people come? And like, for me, none of that really matters to me. It's more for people to observe the growth.
Incredible.
Like I always want each experience that I showcase to the public to not look anything like the previous and to not look anything like anything that they've been to before.
Wow.
So that's why I don't do white walls. I don't do white ceilings. Like, I've painted every nook and cranny head to toe of this place. I'm curating the music. We're curating what you're drinking. We're curating what you're smelling. We're curating who's even going to be there.
Wow.
It's an experience that is accessible, that is exclusive, that is inclusive, and that is free. Yes, I want people to come in and say, hey, I love those works. Like, can I buy them? That's wonderful. But I want somebody to go into that space and say 2-3 years down the line, hey man, I don't know if you ever had the chance of going to Samurai Farai's Cape Town exhibition, but it was beautiful. I love what he did with that. Maybe Amazing. We can bring it into this. Like, I'm more focused right now on becoming like a cultural touch point.
Yes.
Instead of just being like a cultural splash in the pan.
Yeah.
I want to be somebody that is referenced. And that means like going out of my way to create something special and like not worrying about the outcome. So I'm just like super excited because I know that this shit is dope.
Incredible, bro. Yeah. You've got one. No, I love that, bro. 2 more questions, bro, before we wrap it up. You did do some stuff in the NFT space, right?
Yes, I did.
And is that something you're still going? Is that something you're still going to bring back?
I think it just depends on the market.
Yes.
I think it depends on my necessity for its function, right? So the NFT space really like opened our eyes to how like these tokens can function in society.
Yes.
Made us, a lot of us, aware of like, what is crypto? What is the blockchain? What can exist there, right? And that's what I really love because it's affected our awareness of what art is. So at the moment, like, I'm working on a bunch of stuff that like let's say the silver necklaces are coming out, but they're coming out with like a special edition, like 16 color screen print.
Yes.
And you can't buy one or the other. It's together, and something like that I wouldn't have had the idea of if it wasn't for the blockchain.
Wow, bro, that's incredible.
So until I can figure out like, okay, let's do a coin, let's do a something that gives these people access, and also like when our infrastructure is ready for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because right now I'm talking about the democratization of the art space, which means inclusivity and accessibility. Now, then I'm going to bring in NFTs and crypto, which is a severe tech language that not a lot of the population
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for the infrastructure to meet my necessity,
Got you. Makes
you
sense.
know,
Yeah.
and then I want to do something that creates not just value but function.
Yeah.
You know, I want there to be like a Samurai Farai club card. You get this, you get access to exclusive merch, or you get invited to special lectures, or you get like a monthly list of podcasts, articles I've read, music I've listened to inspire X, Y, and Z. You know, I think that first world countries are living that and breathing that. And we, unfortunately, are like 12 to 15 years behind.
I love that, bro. And I love that your thinking is there, bro. I think that's so spot on. And we'll catch up, bro. You know, with guys like you at the helm, bro, we'll get there a lot quicker. Bro, tell me, you're someone who's this advocate for, you know, I think you're inspiring a lot of people with your training, your eating, and it's clearly a big part of your process as an artist. You know, you're treating this like you are a top sportsman or athlete, which you are, you know, and it's crazy because it's like building this endurance with your artwork, and you're putting out more work, and you're really treating this like the science. You're into every detail. If you had to give me, which I believe is the fact, like, I don't think it's too difficult. I think the difficult is the doing. But if you had to give some high level advice and you had to simplify the training and the eating to like a couple of sentences, and if people were to follow that, like, what would you tell someone? How's your, like, what would the elevator pitch be to like get into shape, to eat healthy? Like, what is your most simplified? Because I think it is simplified for you, because I watch it on your stories and I'm like, it's not actually that crazy.
No, it's not.
Like, doing it is crazy, and at the level you're doing it is crazy. But what would be the simplified?
So the elevator pitch simplified version, if I don't think about it too much, is cut out the bullshit. And what I mean by that is stop doing things that aren't serving you becoming the best version of yourself tomorrow, right? What does that mean? Stop eating shit, stop drinking shit, stop sleeping at shit time, stop hanging out with shit people. Eat whole foods, go to sleep at the same time every night. Don't drink alcohol, don't do drugs. Do one really difficult thing for 100 days in a row without a break. And tell me if you are still the same person that you were on day one that you are on day 100. Once you've done those 100 days, do another 100 days. Stack those 100 days into 1,000 days, and then compare who you were on day one to who you are on day 999.
Yo,
you feel me?
Yo, go with the bars here, my man. Yo. That's such a good answer, bro. My last two questions for you, Samurai. If you are speaking to an 18-year-old version of yourself, you're speaking to the person who has maybe even finished their studies now. You're speaking to the artist that is walking into potentially hosting their first exhibition. What is advice you would give a younger version of yourself or creative that is following a similar journey to yours now?
Keep working hard. When you think you're working hard, you can still work harder. Be patient without being passive. And be brave enough to be different. Keep being brave enough to be different. Don't fall into the trap of safety. End of story.
I love that, bro.
Yeah, like, it's not that complicated. Because if you become comfortable, you become passive. Once you become passive, you're pretty much dead. If you don't have an opinion, you aren't anybody. If you don't have the bravery to express that opinion, then what are you even doing in this industry? Or like, what are you even doing? You're just floating around on a rock that's also floating around. So 18-year-old me, alternate dimension me, any other like young creatives who have aspirations to follow like a similar path, it is just be patient without being passive, be relentlessly brave, put your hand up, don't be afraid of hard work. When you think that you're working hard, work even harder.
I love that, bro.
You know, because it's really, it's hard work, it's not talent, bro.
I love that, bro.
Like the talent is 10%. It's 90% hard work, like, and willingness to work. And like that willingness, I think people take for granted and they don't understand it. Like, go out and work for free if you know that the experience that you're getting is priceless. You know, because then when you start to put out a priceless product, you can charge whatever the fuck you want for it.
I love that, bro. Such a powerful answer, bro.
You know, and people are like, oh, I want to mentor with you. I want to work for you. Can you pay me X? I'm like, bruh, yes, everyone needs cash to live in the society, but like, if your mind is always there, you're never going to look at experiences or the value that anybody can give you outside of those binoculars, outside of that lens. You need to start looking at like, what is the lesson that this person is going to give me that's going to contribute to what I want to do in this world. And sometimes that means working for free.
How are you, or how's your business structured now? What would you say majority of the money you're making is from selling artworks, or is it the brand deals, or how?
I would say it's like, it's split.
Okay.
You know, so
Wow.
I would say I run Samurai Farai Pty Ltd as a fine art and commercial, like, creative business.
Incredible.
Right? So it means that the brand deals will come in when it's season. We do what we have to, apply usage to kind of extend, you know, value on that. And then focus on like fine art at moments. You know, I almost look at the commercial side giving me the financial freedom to have fun with my creative side.
Got you.
You know, which means like being able to like have the flexibility to sculpt a stone, to spend 6 months doing ceramics, to want to make something out of wood. You know, I'm not like stuck in, oh, paper, oh, canvas, oh, paper, oh, canvas, sell paper, sell canvas. I have the room to play. And if I didn't have commercials, brands, murals, it would be a lot harder and it would take a lot longer.
Yes.
You know, I think it's very rare to see a 28-year-old visual artist not signed to a gallery who's working across 5 to 6 mediums. Like, bro, the next thing is bronze and marble, you know, and like that is crazy. Like in this industry, like if you are getting bronzed and marbled out, you're pretty much goated now. Like you can't go any further in the hierarchy of mediums. So I'm grateful that I have like that fiscal flow to fund one another.
Wow.
You know, so if the commercial's not doing so well, the fine art is doing well, and we bounce. And I believe that, like, you know, shout out to Be the Pusher. They put me on one time. We had this conversation about revenue streams, and she said to me that like 95% of the South African population is one stream of revenue away from poverty. And that hit me like a brick in the face, bro, because if you just change the vocabulary there and you say every single artist in South Africa is one creative financial stream away from poverty, you'll get the fright of your life. Because then you realize like, okay, I can't put all my ducks in the gallery. I can't put all my ducks with the brand deals. I actually need to start my own pond. Like, I actually need to import some birds into this bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if 1 and 2 die, I at least have 3. Or if 2 and 3 die, I at least have 1. You know? So my entire thing has been like, how do we constantly increase streams of revenue by diversifying what this is?
Beautiful.
You feel me?
Bro. So spot on, man.
And I think that's just my business structure, is like, what can we keep creating that is accessible, that's cool, that's different, that is authentic? Can we do it? Where do we do it? Let's do it. Why haven't we done it yet?
I love that, bro. I love that. Bro, my last question to you, Samurai Farai, what would you like to be remembered as?
Yo, I think outside of my work, I would really just want to be remembered as somebody who provided positivity, optimism, opportunity, and like great energy. You know, like, I think there's so many amazingly talented people that are still alive and in our history who are absolute assholes, you know, and yes, they've left a wonderful body of work or a legacy of music or literature or architecture or film, but nobody has nothing nice to say about them.
Yeah, so true, man.
You know, I pride myself on being like extremely empathetic and sensitive and caring. And if I can walk into a space and contribute to like the frequency in a positive way, if I can put a smile on somebody's face during the day, if I can help people in situations that I was maybe in or who are less fortunate than me, that's what I want to be remembered as. And then like, oh yeah, he was a fucking sick artist by the wayside. That's just like a bystander, you know, but he was a great person. That guy made me feel fantastic. He believed in me. He gave me an opportunity. He helped me when nobody else did. That for me is enough, bro.
Bro, just to give you your flowers, you're an absolute legend, man. I think you're just getting started, man. I'm so excited to it's been such a pleasure watching your career and like getting to see you grow as a human being, and just your attention to bettering yourself and bettering yourself as an artist, and your dedication to it, and your dedication to consistency, and your dedication to like be imperfect and fall off sometimes and fall back, and just that it's more about that than it is hitting a perfect score. Yours is more like just like step back into it, focus on it, and just the way you do that, just such a positive light, bro, like to the industry. Like, and I know so many kids are like watching you and just learning from you, and it's like that's exactly who we need at the helm. And it's such an honor to have you there, bro. I think we're in good hands, and you know, you're leading this pack, and I think it's just a matter of time until everybody on planet Earth knows who you are, my friend. My bro, thank you so much. I appreciate you, bro.
This is so wonderful, man.
It's been so beautiful. It's my favorite. I'm being biased, but this is my favorite Samurai Farai interview, man.
That's what I'm saying, bro. The people have been asking for it for so long.
Yeah, bro, it's so special, man. And and I think that's the most viewed Samurai Farai artwork in the world right now. You know?
By the heaviest of hitters.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, man. That was so special, bro.
No, bro, that was wonderful. That was one take, bro, off the dome.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.